So in about 9 months, I'd put on 100 pounds. And you take those belief systems that we all grow up with, that
Yeah.
I mentioned, you partner that with the extreme demands of appearance that I had working in modeling and then still working in film and TV, even though I was on the backside of the camera. And I could no longer see my value or any
Mm.
worth I could bring to the table beyond my image.
Well, welcome to this episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and today we have the fabulous KC Sullivan with us. And I met KC at an event where she was speaking on the stage. She was amazing speaking on the stage, and she was just so vibrant in the colors that she was wearing, and she was so energetic. And then she stepped on stage and started talking about her body image issues. Now, if you've watched my TED Talk, you realize that I also talked about body image. So I invited her to come on the show. So let's unpack. And she is a stylist. Not only is she styling, but she's a stylist. So, I love her already. And she can help us really reframe how we look at our bodies. And I want to share Casey and her brilliance with you all today. So welcome, Casey, to the show.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
And,
So,
we look like we're the same height, but Casey is
I know.
like, what, 6 feet?
Yes. I am. I am right at 6 foot and I love a good high heel. So that kind
And
of
she
puts
loves high
me.
heels. So, I'm 5 feet, half an inch. I always call the half an inch.
Yes, you should.
So, we're like Laurel and Hardy, if you're old enough to remember the Laurel and Hardy character, tall and short. So, our show today, we're going to really talk about women in transition because that's what you specialize in. You work with women in transition. And I want you to share a little bit about your story that impacted me when you talk about body image.
Oh, absolutely. So I think one of the first things to take note in is our culture is indoctrinated with this belief that we need to look a certain way and we need to be a certain size and show up a certain way. And we're constantly carrying around this heavy idea of not enough or too much or do I look the part? And there's so much research out there that really shows that we're developing these belief systems as young as age 3. There has been studies showing that age like 3-year-olds will identify beauty and success with being skinny or being the perfect looking person. And that's kind of the message that we all kind of grew up under.
And mine was my hair.
Oh, yes, I can
Yeah,
only
mine
imagine.
was my hair. So, yeah, I got
Yes,
you. I got you. It was 3 years
absolutely.
old. Hmm.
Uh-huh. And now you can wear it so naturally, so beautifully, and feel really great about it, but it probably took you a whole journey to get there.
Yes, and it's still ongoing. But yeah,
Yes, of
that's for a
course.
whole other
It
time. I'm going to talk
is
about that
always
on another.
ongoing. We
Yes,
will
it's
say that. We
ongoing.
do all the work and it is always ongoing.
Yes.
So, but I entered in the world into international modeling. I had an opportunity in front of me. As you mentioned, I'm 6 foot tall. I happened to be really thin at the time, and that was like the quote unquote look to have in the early 2000s. And I was 2 years in, kind of over it. Did not care for that career. It was not for me, but I fell in
It's
love.
hard. People think it's so
It's
glamorous and so
so
it is
hard.
torturous.
It was not what you see
Yeah.
in represented. So, and that's okay. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm not trying to bash on it. It's just not what I wanted for my whole life. So I moved into fashion design. I went to school for that, which is where I had always really wanted to be, and quickly found success there. Was loving it, knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. I was living in Hollywood, so working in the film and TV sector. And I started struggling with some health challenges. Well, these health challenges brought on a major weight gain out of my control. So in about 9 months, I'd put on 100 pounds. And you take those belief systems that we all grow up with, that
Yeah.
I mentioned, you partner that with the extreme demands of appearance that I had working in modeling and then still working in film and TV, even though I was on the backside of the camera. And I could no longer see my value or any
Mm,
worth I could bring to the table beyond my image. I had so unknowingly tied my worth to my weight. And when my
mm.
weight became what I didn't think it should be, I went down a spiral of shame and self-loathing and self-sabotage even, and it was not pretty.
Wow. Wow. And that, see, that's why we're talking about in transition because you went from being thin to gaining 100 pounds in 9 months and you weren't pregnant.
Right.
It's like that wasn't the reason.
No.
Um, and so when you had put on all this weight and you started self-loathing, what were some of the thoughts that were in your head about yourself when you looked in the mirror?
Yes, so I think at that moment in the morning when you get up and whatever your morning routine looks like, you somehow eventually end up in front of a mirror. You're in the shower, you get done, and it was like looking down in the shower and just being grossed out by yourself. Like
Mm,
so discouraged and so disappointed and feeling like you could do nothing about it and you were helpless. And because I had developed that thought process that because of this weight that I would no longer be seen as valuable or even worth my job. And
mm,
so leaving the house with those thoughts spinning in my brain, I showed up at work, immediately checked out, immediately ready to be like, oh, yeah, you're right. So even though
mm,
I had, some pretty glamorous quote unquote success getting to work with really big companies and brands and really starting to develop a career for myself, I could no longer see any of those achievements as worthy because I didn't look the part anymore. And so
mm,
I just was like pulling myself away. I started second guessing my work. I didn't want to be too visible, so I wasn't speaking up or showing up for myself. And I started pulling away from even friendships because I was just embarrassed.
yeah.
And even though they hadn't said anything about it, I couldn't see it. It was what was going on in my brain.
So
So,
we become our worst enemies in that moment. We start bullying,
oh,
internal bullying. So you might not even be saying it verbally to yourself when you look in the mirror, but
no,
internally, because you're so disgusted by how you look, it started
yes,
impacting your behavior. And that's what
exactly.
I want people to start recognizing. When your behavior starts shifting noticeably, that's a problem.
Yes. From the neuro side, there is just what you think about regularly, those thoughts that play on loop, that eventually is how you feel and it's what you become. Because
Hmm.
it's that self-fulfilling prophecy, if you
Right.
will. It's your mind is so powerful. And if you let those negative thoughts control the loop, you're going to spiral. And that's exactly what I did. So.
So when did you recognize that this was a problem?
To be honest, I had a moment, and I think this I mentioned in when was talking on stage where you and I met, but I had a moment in the shower. I was getting ready for work, and I was just so caught up in my brain. I was going down that loop of negative self-talk, and I
Mhm.
was just frantic about it, and I was so discouraged, and I was just miserable, and I had like those pumice stones you use on your feet in the shower, and I looked at them and I thought, I just wish I was just in my head, like, I wish I could just take this pumice stone and wash all this fat off my body. And I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just in that loop. And I just started scrubbing on my skin as hard as I could. And I don't know how long this went on for. I was so numb. I was so in this down dialogue. And all of a sudden I looked up and I was like, something was burning. And it was the water hitting my skin that was now
That was
bleeding
raw. Oh, wow.
because I had just rubbed so hard out of so much anger and like
And
self-hatred,
pain
really,
and
for lack of a better
self,
word.
yeah.
And I thought, this is a problem. It was much later before I realized kind of what it was more and really was able to put a pin on it and do
Mhm.
something about it. But it was in that moment where I was really like, oh, I'm struggling much
Mhm.
more than just my physical health.
Yeah. Because it does lead you down that mental health path now all that negative self-talk. You can't even pull yourself out of it. And
Right.
you think you're an intelligent person. I'm an
Mhm.
intelligent person. It's not about intelligence. The
No.
emotional impact is so strong that you see yourself differently.
Hmm.
Your identity, you become a different person. Your identity shifts. When
Absolutely.
you're struggling with insecurities and imposter syndrome and not feeling worthy or lovable or any of those things, it's not something that someone could just say, "Oh, just get over it," or but
Right.
you're pretty.
Yeah.
It's much deeper than that. So how
Hmm.
did you overcome it? And then the next question I'm going to ask is, how do you help your clients when they come to you?
Absolutely.
So,
So the first thing I want to acknowledge is I have an extreme experience with it. It shows up in everyday life for everybody differently. And just because maybe your story isn't as extreme as mine is, doesn't mean you're not valid.
struggling.
Yeah, struggling and valid in those feelings of struggle. So I just want to acknowledge that you don't have to have a story as intense as mine might be or have the background that I have to still be struggling with these things. It's any of these moments that show up in your day to day and you're like looking in the mirror going, oh, like why? Like, can I just erase these wrinkles or lose this 10 pounds? And how many times have we heard this? So for me, I actually talking about self-sabotage, worked myself right on out of my job. I was so caught up in the insecurity that I quit applying for new jobs. And when you're working freelance and you don't start putting yourself out there, you don't
Mm,
continue to bring in work. And so I was struggling. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a corporate job. It's safe. Yeah, I am too fat to work in fashion now. Clearly, I can't do that. So I'm gonna go hide myself in corporate. And it was working in those spaces that I started to recognize that I was not alone in this struggle. I was not special in this
mm,
self-misery.
mm.
I was working with some of those brilliant women I had ever met in multiple different industries. And they were all having kind of these same internal dialogues like, oh man, it was like you notice it in that like quick self-deprecating humor at the office, like, oh,
Right. Yeah.
or like you see they want to say something in the meeting, but they kind of like they stop themselves because like, oh, maybe someone's going to say something better. Or it's just these moments, these little glimmers that you're like, oh, like I started to recognize those in other women. And I thought, this is horrible. Like, why
Mm,
are we so mean to ourselves? I would never say that about her. She would never say that about me. Yet I'm telling myself this, and I think that's okay. So
right.
I think it was kind of these moments of getting to witness it with other women. And then fast forward to I was actually working as a house parent in a children's home with teen girls. And these girls had been through some of the biggest traumas and
Mm,
experiences, and they were a lot of them struggling with massive body image issues. And when I found myself having intentional conversations with these girls about their body image and about what was going on, I realized like something clicked like, hello, pot
you're
calling kettle black. Like,
yeah.
like, look at me. So I think sometimes it's when you're trying to teach somebody else that you really see it in yourself. And that was for me. Like, yeah.
So that happened to me too. I have to tell
Oh
you.
my gosh. Tell
It
me about
wasn't
it,
it was
please.
my it was about my own belief in my own beauty. So I
Mhm.
always thought, I'm cute, but I could never be pretty or gorgeous or beautiful or glamorous or any of those adjectives, right? Cute because I'm tiny, I'm small,
Right.
yeah, I'm cute. And in the beauty business, so I studied fashion in school, but I got into the beauty industry and doing hair and makeup on a multitude of people, from models to everyday people to actors
Mm,
to, just the whole spectrum.
right.
And the ones that would sit in my chair and be insecure about being seen, being in public, and having to work on them, I heard myself telling them things that I needed to hear. heard myself feeling like a fraud because I'm telling them how beautiful they are and they have to believe in themselves and believe in their own beauty and look at your eyes and look at it. And I was looking in the mirror and saying the worst things about myself. So that was my aha as well in starting to shift how I was seeing myself because one of my mentors says that we don't see with our eyes, we see through our eyes with cells of recognition. So
Yeah.
if we're expecting to look in a mirror and see ugly, that's exactly what we're going to see. But if we change our perspective and we start shifting how our mind perceives our own beauty,
Hmm.
so I used to say we have to create a concept of beauty that we actually fit into. Because we started this conversation talking about this societal
Hmm.
image of what beauty is. And we have to now create our own image of what beauty is. So we fit that mold and we could step
Hmm.
into that and still and feel beautiful because it's not that image out there that is commonly, referred to.
Absolutely. I think that's so valuable. And I think that's also why clothes are such a
Powerful
impactful tool
tool.
is
Yeah,
it's something that
makeup, hair, clothes. It's
yes,
an it
style.
and again, the other thing is that people have as okay, I'm trying to say three things at the same time because it's like
Okay.
it's yeah, so number one, number one, society values makeup, image, clothes as superficial.
Hmm.
Number two, it's these are industries that are billion-dollar industries that people spend tons of money on every single year. And number three, it impacts us in so many ways from how we see ourselves, whether we show up confidently or not, what our style is, whether we're comfortable wearing different color. It impacts us
Hmm.
psychologically and emotionally in so many different ways, and it's not valued. It's
Right.
seen as superficial, and it absolutely is not superficial. That's
Right.
what I wanted to say.
I think it's a beautiful point to make because I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions of my industry as a stylist. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's just for the rich and the famous. Why would I ever need a stylist? I'm a stay-at-home mom or I'm a school teacher or whatever your story is." It is not about vanity or materialism or the need to buy a bunch of expensive brands if you don't want expensive brands. It's about enhancing your current lifestyle, your goals in your current body, and being able to use these things that you have every day as a tool to set yourself up for success. And
Ah,
I
love
think
it.
that's the shift that I could just stand on a mountaintop and yell like, there's we're a lot of us anyways are taught um, not, you don't want to be vain, you don't want to be superficial.
Mm.
I still don't want to be those things, but I also take a lot of confidence in my image and really want to show up and put myself out there and how I want to control the
You want to
narrative.
be you're the best version of
Yes.
yourself.
If
What does
I
the
feel
best version of
beautiful,
yourself look like?
yes, if I feel beautiful, I radiate beauty from the inside out. And you just show up better. You show up better for yourself, you show up better for your family, your career, all of the things. It's just this ripple effect.
Right. And one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself is understand what colors look best on you.
Oh,
When we
yes.
got on camera together, we are like, oh, look how vibrant and colorful we are.
Right.
When you wear bright, beautiful colors and vibrant colors, it changes your whole mood. It
Yes.
shifts you.
It is.
Whereas if you're wearing drab, you know, like I used to wear black a lot because I was a hider.
Mhm.
I used to hide, which is why I loved being a makeup artist because I can wear black and that's an excuse because,
Yes.
we're supposed to disappear into the backgrounds. We're not
Mhm.
supposed to be seen. But
Right.
on the other side of that, when I put color on and I'm like, woo, and I show up in my red and my vibrant red, it's a whole different tone that I show up in.
Yes. Color has so much power and so much nuance to it. And different colors mean different things to different people. So it's not always going to be the same for everybody. Yet recognizing, like you said, what are your colors is so impactful. And it can be a lot of fun and exciting.
Because some
So,
people look at it and say, "Oh, I would never wear that color. I would never wear it because it
oh,
frightens
yes,
them." Red used to frighten me. Red was a scary color for me. And then
yes.
I wore it in a photo shoot, and everybody commented on how good it looked on me. I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't be so scared of it."
I know. I think I hear once a week, like, oh, I love how you always pull all that crazy stuff off, but I could never do that. And I'm like, why?
Why?
Have you tried?
And
Like,
the fact that they admire it means that they really want to try it, but they're too afraid to try it. And
yeah.
it's just clothes. It's just color. You could take it off. It's not
And
permanent.
if you can approach clothing from a place of play, like we used to play dress up. When
Yeah.
did that become not a thing anymore? Why did you have to grow out of
Why
dressing
am I,
up?
we become adults and we don't dress up anymore. Just have fun.
Even as a professional stylist, I've been in fashion for 20 years. Sometimes I see myself in a photo and I was like, "Ooh, that outfit was a total miss."
Like
But I didn't,
when did you
I
do
felt
it?
great that day. I didn't care. You know what I mean? Like I showed up and I had a great day because I felt great. And then
Yes.
you're like, okay, I can see from a fashion stylist eye, I'm going to look at it and be like, oh, maybe that would have been a little better if I adjusted here. But it didn't matter in the moment because it felt great.
Yes. So
So,
one of the takeaways that I'm hearing from you is experiment with fashion. Experiment. I look at when I go shopping, I look
mhm.
at something on the hanger and this is what I always tell people, my daughters and you can't really judge it on the hanger. You
No.
got to put it on your body.
Yes.
I would look at something on a hanger and say, "Oh, no way." And then I would put it on, I'd be like, "Ooh, I
Yes.
misjudged you." Like
Yes.
you look fabulous. So don't ever judge clothes by just what it looks like on the hanger. You got to try it on and
Thanks.
see what it does for your body. The other
Yes.
thing I want you to share is body typing.
Hmm.
As women go through transition, so we talked a little bit about that emotional piece, but knowing your body type, whether you put on weight, take off weight, you'll put on weight, you'll notice you put on weight in the same kind of places all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but understanding the type of body you have, how important is that?
So I am a little unique in my take on this from a lot of people in this industry. It is incredibly important to understand it because it empowers you. Having that knowledge and information and being able to utilize that is very helpful and very empowering. Now, where the nuance and where I think it comes in and it's very important to talk about is you might like, for instance, if people aren't familiar with body shapes, right? There's rectangle, there's pear, there's apple, you hear all these different terms.
Right.
So if you know what your body type, quote unquote, is, and you go to Pinterest, let's say, and say, I have a pear body shape, and I want to know the do's and don'ts for pear body shapes. And they'll generate this list. There's thousands of them out there. They're, got some variations, but they're all there. Great. These things are powerful pieces of knowledge because your body is a living form of art.
Hmm.
It evolves, it moves, and the clothes that you put on it is just dressing up that piece of art. So when you know art, you know balance, proportion, and line, and then you get into color and all the things. So that is all that is. These lists that tell you I'm a pear shape, you do this, you don't do this, these are based on balance, proportion, and line and how they fit the shape of your body. Now, the nuance to it that I think is really important is everybody has a different experience in their body. So
Hmm.
you might be the same size and shape as someone else, but you're going to feel differently about your body. I
Yeah.
have two clients that are built almost identically, and one of them hates her butt and the other one loves it. They're
Hmm.
built the same. So being able to recognize that these lists are very helpful and understanding body shape and how line and balance or proportion fits you is massively impactful. The next step is understanding how you feel based
In
on
that
your
body.
experience in that
Hmm.
body, because then you can learn how to tweak those nuances to make it even better for you.
Yeah, I love that because it's so important that you don't lump it all together and say, well, this is how you should dress this body type. It's more of how do I really feel about my body?
Yes.
And then let's tailor that because it's not
Correct.
about it's also not about hiding your body either.
No.
It's about being comfortable in your own skin and confident enough to say, you know what? I am not wearing booty shorts because, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or I love to wear booty shorts because,
Yeah.
you know,
And you get
so
to
you
decide
have
those
to know.
things.
You decide, but
You
you're
have,
not hiding behind. Yeah, that's the, I think that's the other uh, shift is that it's not about hiding it, but it's about being comfortable in how you dress it.
yeah.
That can make the difference for you. So
Yes.
when you're deciding on your style
Mhm.
and you are a stylist and you've already said everybody could use a stylist. Listen, everybody could use a stylist, no matter where you are. Just understanding that would help you,
Mhm.
especially if you're going through a transition, either losing weight, gaining weight, empty nester, divorce, whatever the transition is.
Right.
Refreshing your style is always helpful. What are some things, give me like two or three things that people should look for if they're looking for a stylist or looking to change their style?
So that's a great question. I think the first thing to really, if you're looking for a stylist specifically, there are more of us out there than you realize. And this beautiful thing called virtual has become amazing because you don't necessarily have to work with someone local.
Yes.
So I would say, don't hesitate to keep looking for someone that feels like a good fit because if you we all have different talents and gifts and we all come from a different experience, right? As stylists. So you might not fit with somebody really well and you might fit with somebody else great. But I've had clients that have worked with previous stylists and have just not been, were very traumatized by the scenario.
Yeah. So don't give
Basically,
up on it if you've had a bad
yes. If
experience
you've
because
had a bad
we're all
experience, just
different.
really sit down and ask yourself, what are your values and what are you looking to get out of a stylist? And then ask her those questions or him those questions before you sign a contract or whatever it looks like for them. So I would say that sit down with yourself first and get clear on what your goals with getting a stylist are.
Mhm.
Is it just to help really kind of be more intentional with what your actual personal style is and what that means to you? Is it a full closet revamp? Get really intentional with what you want first and then seek support.
Nice. I love that idea. Yeah.
So I would say that if you are just like looking for ways to up level yourself, I really work things from what I learned in film and TV, developing characters out with my clients because that's what I did. You read through a script and you pick out all the things that make that character unique. So you think about the costumes and costume department,
Mhm.
you don't realize how impactful their costumes are to that character. Well,
Yeah.
your clothes do the same thing for you. So
Yeah.
are you intentional with them or you know what you're trying to achieve? And so I would say ask yourself, I always do a style breakdown through a framework and I set people up with 3 to 5 words in this framework. We want at least one word that is everyday, absolutely practical in their life. If it is, let's say that you're on your feet all day. You work, you run straight home, you get your kids, you go to soccer practice. You're going to want something that's easy, not fussy, probably, maybe comfortable. Pick something that's very practical for you as one of your words. Then you want something that is aspirational. What are you trying to grow into? We're all evolving. Be intentional. So you
Yeah.
want an aspirational word, something that makes you work towards your goals. And then you want 1 or 2 words that is emotional. How do you want to feel in your clothes?
Mm.
There is so much science behind how you feel in your clothes directly impacts your performance and your behaviors. And there's tons of studies on this. The concept is called enclothed cognition. You can research it if you want to know more. But think about what's practical, what's aspirational, how do you want to feel? And set yourself up a framework. And that's a great place to start.
Wow. Those are magnificent little tidbits. I love it all. And Casey, I can't even imagine we're out of time, but I thank you so much for this. And if you want to connect with Casey, we have her contact information in the show notes for you that you can grab her and find out what her process is for hiring her. But she's just fabulous. And I thank you so much for your vulnerability, for sharing some of your story with us. And hopefully it will help the women who are watching this show.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being here and for everybody's time because it's valuable for all of us. So thank you. And I look forward to the next time we get to catch up because you're just fun to talk to.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
All right.
follow us, Red Carpet CEO, because she will be on another show of ours, and you don't want to miss Casey talking about style in the workplace. So, with that, I just want to say, we have to find ways to continue to love our bodies and ourselves. It's the only one you got. You
Yep.
got to find a way to love it, take care of it, and I will see you next time on Love My Body, Love Myself. Bye, everybody. Turnover. It's incredibly expensive for any organization, but especially those that are small and mid-size. If you're an organization and you're hiring, it's so important to get it right. You need to identify the right people for the right roles. Here at Audacious Concepts, Inc., we help you perfect your hiring process so you get it right every single time. Reach out to us at audaciousconceptsinc.com